guys, welcome back to Life with Meg. In today's video I'm going to be answering the most frequently asked questions about my exchange because I have been back in Australia for almost 3 months now and many of you guys have been asking me questions, and so I've put them together. I've nailed it down to about 20 and we're going to be answering them today. Okay, so number one was, where did you learn French? Basically, the school I'm going to, they don't offer French, and so I spoke to them before my exchange and I said, look, I'm going on an exchange to France. I really kind of need to be learning French. They enrolled me in this online program called SIDE, so School of Isolated Distance Education. And so I basically did a private study of French and I went to the library 3 times a week. I had 1 online lesson, then 2 theory lessons. The 1 online lesson was a Skype call and she'd walk us through the content of the lesson, and the other 2 days throughout my week I would work privately and work through that lesson that we were covering the content on. That's how I did it, and I'm still doing it as I'm back in Australia because I don't want to lose my French and I still have some rules to be learning about French. That's how I'm learning French. How did you do an exchange program? So I did my research, I chose my exchange program and I chose Student Exchange Australia New Zealand. No problems at all. Everything was very fast and efficient. The application process was very long, but it made it worth it. And basically once you finish your application, you hand it in, we scanned it in, then you wait and they'll email you to tell you if you got in. Most of the time, if you fit into the success criteria, you will fit in, you will be accepted into the program. What was the worst and best part of my exchange? I definitely know the worst part of my exchange, and that was having to say see you later, like leaving it all, made your life there. Everything felt like home, but I knew I could come back. I'll be going back shortly, hopefully, after this whole coronavirus ends. The best part of my exchange was probably my amazing host family. I got very lucky to be placed in such an amazing host family. We were matched so perfectly, like I couldn't ask for a better host family. What was your biggest challenge during your exchange year? My biggest challenge during my exchange year, it was probably the language barrier at the start. Well, the first 3 months, because I thought I knew French. Obviously didn't, because I didn't expect, I don't know what I was thinking, but for some reason I thought my little vocabulary would be fine to be going to school, living in the French life. It wasn't, so that made it very hard to communicate with everyone and that made school very hard, but everyone was very patient and understanding, and there were a couple odd people here and there that did speak English, so that helped out a bit. Yeah, that was my biggest challenge, but honestly it's to be expected if you go to a country with a different language that you don't know too well. This links back to the question before. It was, did you get placed with a good host family? I got placed with the most absolutely beautiful and amazing host family I could ever ask for. I am one of the luckiest people. The associations matched us so well and we got along so well. They had my humour. They went camping, they took me to see a lot of places. I just felt like the luckiest person in the whole entire world, and they made me feel like family. And even now I'm back in Australia, we talk so much, we talk all the time, and they class me as family and I class them as family. So I was very lucky with my host family. How are both exchange companies? So if you don't know, you have your home organisation and your host organisation. So my home organisation, that was Student Exchange Australia New Zealand, I had no problems with them whatsoever. They were very amazing, fast, friendly, efficient. I would definitely recommend them. And my overseas exchange company, I didn't get to choose. That's my partner company that works with my home association, and that was called JEV. I had no problem with them. I did find some information as I was arriving was a bit misunderstood and wasn't communicated properly, but they were fine. People were there to meet me. It was a bit hard. It took me a while to find where they were, but that was honestly just me. I wasn't looking around for the sign properly. It was a tiny sign, but I should have been looking a bit better, but it was stressful. It was in a different language and I didn't speak it. And then coming home basically was fine. I got off the train and one of the exchange people were just there to meet me and take me to the airport, help me get checked in. and then waited till I got through security, and off they went. And yeah, I honestly had no problem with them. The only problem I had, which doesn't really relate to the company, but my local coordinator went a bit funny towards the end, and I knew she was a bit weird from the start, but it didn't matter. I didn't have any problems. I didn't really need to talk to her in the first place, which was fine, just fine. But she did go a bit funny towards the end, and some stuff went down. Would you recommend doing an exchange, and if so, where? I would 100% recommend doing an exchange. I mean, at the end of the day, it all depends who you are as a person. I know there are people who would not be able to do an exchange because it is very emotionally, physically challenging. A very different experience, and especially if you're in a country where it doesn't speak English, like your mother tongue. I do find you have to have certain characteristics, like you have to be very open-minded. If you're not an open-minded person, like I think you're going to find it very hard if you were to go on an exchange, because you have to accept a whole new culture, and you have to follow different rules, and you have to be independent and everything. And it is a challenging experience, but at the same time it is a very rewarding experience, and I definitely would recommend doing it. And the where part, that's honestly up to you. If you want to do it in a country that doesn't speak your language, I would definitely recommend practicing the language as much as you can before you go. It's up to you as a person if you want to go, and if so, where you're going. Are you glad you came home when you did and didn't stay longer? I did want to actually stay longer. My host family, they wanted me to stay longer. I wanted to stay longer. The exchange company was fine with it. We just had to change a few things, get another visa, but my parents wanted me home, which is fair enough because I had to start the new school year, which is year 10, if you guys didn't know. Now that I am home, I'm very glad I did come home, because France is in lockdown at the moment, and honestly I wouldn't mind it because I'm with my host family and I love them, but like I think with this whole coronavirus, it's just best that I'm home in my home environment with things that I'm used to, things that my body's used to, because I did find over there I did get sick of it. Just being introduced to new things and new environments, my body reacted a lot, but I think that is a good thing that I came home and I didn't stay longer. Not that we knew this was going to escalate that much, but I mean, it is what it is. Okay, this is a very commonly asked question, and it was, has your exchange changed you? And I would say yes, it has definitely changed my perspective on life and changed my values. I've become a lot more independent. My values have changed, the way I look at things have changed. I've matured a lot as a person, and I can't really explain it, but I know I have changed. Like, my values, my perspective, my look on life has changed. I loved it. Like, honestly, it's all good changes. It's not one bad change. Do you miss your host family and your French friends? Yes, I miss them every day. Some days more than others, but I mean, it's a normal thing. They became a huge part of my life, as every exchange student would know. Like, you're always going to miss someone. When you're over in your host country, you miss home. When you're over here, you miss your host country. Like, it's natural, and you know, people deal with it in different ways. So yes, I do miss my host family and my French friends, but it's not as much as when I first came back. When I first came back, I miss them a lot, but now it's sort of just okay, yeah, I miss them. Alright, let's keep going on with my day. The next question was, are you planning on moving back to France? And I have talked about this a lot, not in my vlogs, but in person to my friends and family. I would love to move back to France and be an English assistant or an English teacher. I would love to move back to France and study abroad again, or I don't know, I just want to move back. I don't know what I want to do. I want to do something with my English over there, but I definitely want to move back. I would move back in a heartbeat. It was, how did it feel coming back home? And I remember this so clearly. It was the whole trip. So I left Paris and I got to Doha, and just hearing English and being able to speak English, that was just so wrong to me. Like, the air hostess, she spoke English to me, but I spoke back in French because it was just a natural thing. Like, my brain just wasn't processing in English. I was like, no, this is wrong, she should be speaking French. And then I got to Doha and it felt okay because there was a lot of languages around there. As you know, it's a very common place for a stopover. I ended up watching a couple movies in French because my brain just wasn't processing in English. And then I got to Perth, which is a city in WA where I flew into, and just hearing English and the Australian accent, it was so wrong, and all I remember is that accent was so strong. I was like, oh my god, this is wrong. Like, the Australian accent after you've been away in a different country for like 5 months, oh my god, like the Australian accent, it is so strong. I just remember it so clearly. Everything just felt wrong, and it was hot. It was very hot because I had come from winter right to summer. But anyway, coming back through customs was fine, like, you know, whatever, it is what it is. They didn't check my bag, which I was very pleased about because I was so hot and exhausted after 2 days of travel, and I just wanted to see my family at that point. But I remember coming back, it was just the weirdest thing I've ever experienced. Just the whole surrounded by English again, back in another country. I felt like a foreigner, I'm not gonna lie. I felt like I did not belong in that country, and it felt so wrong to be there. This question links into the question before, which is how are you coping being back in Australia? So I've been back in Australia for a little less than 3 months now, and I still remember I just found it so hot. I'm still finding it quite hot. So basically we drove back up to where I live, and I live in like a desert, so it's pretty hot. Like, I mean ridiculously hot, especially from someone coming from winter who hasn't had extreme heat like that for like 5 or 6 months. Was not fun. I had about 3 or 4 days until I started school again, and just getting back in that uniform felt so wrong, and I was dying of heat, and my brain was still trying to process in English and trying to go back to school in Australia where there was English and the Australian accent. It was very hard. It didn't take long, it only took like a couple days, and I sort of got the swing of things again. I started going to the gym, you know, got back to everyday life. Like, I still find it weird now, but not as weird as I did when I first got back. This is another very frequently asked question. It is, what language do you prefer to speak, French or English? And it really depends. Most of the time I prefer to speak French because, I don't know, I just find it really fun to speak a different language and practice it. Like, I'm fluent in English obviously because it's my mother tongue, but French is just such a cool language to speak, and it's challenging, but it's such a fun challenge. And honestly, I still remember my first month or two back in Australia, I would be in English class and I'd be writing something and my brain would just think of the word in French straight away, and got a bit annoying, but got there in the end. I mean, sometimes it's still hard to think of words in English and they'll come in French first, and I feel like a lunatic when I say, wait, how do you spell this? What's that word again? But it's a normal thing, yeah. Any of you exchange students relate to me, because I'm sure I'm not the only one. Did you make a lot of friends? I did make friends. Most of them were exchange student friends, and you know, it's pretty cool to have friends that are around the world. Just amazing to connect with everyone basically who live all around the world. Like, such an amazing thing to experience, and you have those lifelong connections. I did make a couple of good friends at my school, not a lot. I will elaborate on that in the next question. Okay, second last question was, what was school like? And I'm going to be honest right now, because I was placed in a college, which is like a middle school. Like, I was in the last year of middle school, but basically I was meant to be in high school. I was placed in middle school because my host sister, she was in her last year there. I attended a middle school, and I did find it quite hard because I was older than everyone. Everyone was just that little bit less mature than me, and I found that very hard and challenging at the start, and there were a lot of situations that I just didn't want to deal with because, I don't know, let's just say girls being girls, and yeah, girls being a bit petty and guys just being really immature. You know, that was something I experienced like a year or two ago, and I just experienced it again, which made it quite unenjoyable. But I did find the education-wise, it did help me a little bit, because I did know some of the stuff we were talking about, such as math and history. I understood it because actually history was the subject I understood like from the very start, because it was just easy. I don't know what it was about history. Like, I really disliked the teacher. He was a weirdo. I don't know, it was just a subject I understood just like that. But other than that, I don't know, I wish I could have gone to a high school. I should have asked earlier on in my exchange to change to a high school, but I left it too late, and then towards the end I got to a bit like, I cannot do this, I cannot go to this school, because the principal was a cow and it was just a I'm not gonna lie, it was a pretty bad school. My host parents even said the same. Yeah, I left it too late to ask to go to a high school, which was okay. I mean, the whole schooling situation, it still added to my experience, although I think it just would have been that much better if I went to an high school, because that's with people my age, and just added to the experience if I went to a school with people my age. The very last question is, was it worth it? All I can say to this is yes, it was worth it. It was worth every cent, worth every challenge, worth every tear, worth every smile. Like, well, I cannot be more grateful to my parents. Have let me experience such an amazing thing at a young age of 15. It has definitely opened up my perspective on the world, and I can't even explain it. It's just amazing, and I feel so lucky to be able to have experienced that at 15, because not every 15-year-old can go and live on the other side of the world for 5 months without their family, without everything, you know, in unfamiliar environments, in an unfamiliar culture, unfamiliar language. Like, honestly, every little challenge made it so worth it. Okay, so that finishes off our video. I hope you guys liked it, and if you did have any more questions, be sure to comment down below or message me on Instagram. I just wanted to say, stay safe, stay inside, keep to yourselves. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.